Hello, everybody.
Hello, ma'am.
How's it going?
It's going well.
So, Adit, I'm going to be presenting the speaker's presentation. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
And he will talk from there. So, hope there's no time lag. So, maybe I should just try sharing the presentation and see if it works. Huh? Adit, can I just try? Okay. Visible? Hi, people.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. Now you can put your screen back on. Okay. Yes, sir. Download it. Download it. I am hoping, yeah, I'm hoping it is playable from my laptop. Should be possible. Okay, yeah, but yeah, fine, fine, fine. Okay, bye.
Hello, Anuradha. Can you hear
Hello?
me?
Yes. Is that
Are you able to hear me?
you? Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, that's Shrikant.
Okay. No, I was wondering who it was and there was some background noise, so I muted it. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, see, I can take a chance on video, but if I do video, this is it. But it may actually go bad.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the only problem. Because the internet connection is unstable, it says.
Okay.
So it progressively will become worse once you load the presentation and more people join. Then it becomes, so I'll do that. I'll go off video, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Good.
Again.
Hello? Are you traveling or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so the signal is
No,
like
actually, it's keeping on going. It's going to be a problem. I suspect it's going to be a problem. I'm not able to figure this out. Why does it keep going into launch meeting? Yeah. Okay. Not able to see anything. Are you all?
sorry.
No, have you loaded my presentation? Because I can only see the
I tested it.
background.
Yeah, I tested it. As soon as they finish introducing you, I will start the presentation.
Okay, and if it goes down and out, just bear with it because sometimes it just disconnects.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
That's correct, absolutely. And I still have not been able to get hold of that op guy, a Wi-Fi guy. Actually, another request would be to ask people to be off video and audio. That might actually help.
Everybody is off audio. Video, I normally do. People don't switch on. Only mine is on, just to make sure that something is happening.
I think just make sure that that's also there. That way, it'll be the bandwidth will be a little bit more optimized.
Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon. Shall we start now?
At 12:15, Revati?
Oh, it says 12:15 for me.
Okay.
So,
oh, okay. Yeah. Fine. Start.
So good afternoon, everyone. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Shrikant Sundarajan as one of the speakers today. Dr. Shrikant Sundarajan is an innovator, technologist, entrepreneur, professor, and investor. He has been a mentor to startups both in India and internationally. He has 30 plus years of global experience in the software product and services space. He has worked at HP, Informix, his own startups, Pretzel Logic Software, and International Decision Systems in the US. Dr. Shrikant was part of the executive leadership team at HCL. He was CTO at Cognizant Technology Solutions, COO at Persistent Systems Limited. In the early 1990s, Dr. Shrikant founded a startup, Pretzel Logic Software Inc., which was acquired by BA spin-off WebGain. BA was then later acquired by Oracle. Currently, a general partner with Venture East, his investment focus is early stage technology focused startups. Prior to joining Venture East, he was also venture partner with Helion Advisors. He was an adjunct faculty of computer science at IIT Bhubaneswar, where he helped IIT Bhubaneswar establish the CS program. And he was also part of the CIEGC at IIIT Hyderabad. And he was a visiting faculty at ISB, Indian School of Business. In addition, he has and he continues to be part of several
Hello?
Revati, we lost you.
Yeah.
Revati?
Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe in the interest of time, I can get going.
Sure.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you, Anuradha. I may just request you to keep flipping slides.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. All the attendees, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I think Revati did a very, very good job about my background. So I've actually done pretty much everything last like 36 years and continue to do a lot. The whole idea behind this was to actually get the spirit of entrepreneurship and what we call innovation going in IIT Palghat, because Dr. Sunil, who's your director, is a good friend of mine, and so are a number of the faculty members. And since it's a next generation IIT, we thought this would be a good way to actually get things kicked off. So the focus is startups can be an excellent leg up for your career. Next slide, please. So why startups? First of all, you get exposed to more. What do you mean by more? More means operations. How does a business run? How do you interface with your investors? How do you interface with your suppliers? How do you interface with your customers? How do you actually build good engineering teams? How do you make sure that like you're ahead of competition? All of that you'll get exposed to very, very quickly. The most important thing is customers, because typically if you work for large companies, your interactions with customers are not going to be there. And this is very important if you're thinking of doing a startup tomorrow. So this learning is key. And then you have smart, motivated team members, right? So whoever is doing startup are doing it for, and they're doing it for either wanting to innovate, wanting to actually be ahead of the curve, wanting to actually do something cool. So they're very motivated, smart team members. And I can tell you that my first startup was in the Valley in the US. And we had some phenomenal people in the first 15, 20 people that we hired. The other most important thing you don't get in a large company is dynamic mentoring, because everything is happening as you see it. So that's very, very critical. And decision making, you'll be empowered to make decisions, which typically does not happen in large companies. And the momentum that you create by working at a startup is a new high. You'll never be able to parallel that in a large organization, because you'll be hidden away somewhere. So this is basically the background. Can we move to the next slide, please?
Yes.
So these are recent startups which have actually done very, very well. Of course, they've been around for a while. And all of them started with an idea, like, for example, White Hat Junior wanted to be in EdTech early on to teach people how to code, or kids how to code. Swiggy and Zomato started off at different ends of the spectrum. Zomato more from a restaurant, kind of filtered restaurant list, giving you deals. Of course, there was a delivery involved. Swiggy started on the delivery side. Now they've actually started to kind of bring on restaurants in their own kitchen. Big Basket, which is one of our investments, is doing very well. You probably already have heard of their recent acquisition by the Tata Group. Ola, you've heard of, basically the Uber for India. Not quite the Uber for India, but everyone's heard of Ola. That's another one of our investments. Flipkart is another. So these all started with an idea. Either the idea was new, or they were basically trying to kind of morph an existing idea in the US for India. So good examples are Oyo, Byju's, Big Basket, Zomato, Flipkart, ATM. These are all, and Ola. They all kind of take off some ideas in the US, but are all applicable to India because of the digital age. Could we go to the next slide, please? So what is our portfolio? I'm a general partner with Venture East. The interesting thing about Venture East is all the founders are from IIT and different backgrounds. Some PhDs, some MBAs from renowned schools, and we like to solve for India. So this is a sample of what we're doing right now. To the top left hand is ACO, which is next generation digital insurance for micro events. So for example, if you're taking an Ola cab ride and you want the Ola cab ride to be kind of insured, it can do that. If you're renting a car and you want that, do that. And you only want that flight to be insured, it can do that, including getting you refunds in case of cancellation. So all very interesting things on what the traditional insurance industry is grappling with, and ACO is trying to disrupt that using AI machine learning. Then you have Bog Orchard. Bog Orchard is basically a consumer product which actually is available on Amazon today under the brand name Blue Spider. This actually creates, this is actually done in tandem with IIT Madras's Innovation Center, and it actually catches mosquitoes naturally and kills them. It doesn't repel them, and it's all done through natural chemicals, so there is no side effects. And it's focused on the female mosquitoes, which actually carry all the viruses like malaria or dengue or H1N1. So these are things it has huge impact, and it's actually starting to do well. The founding team was actually based out of IITM Research Park. IQLect is again a tech-led non-SQL streaming database, which has actually come out of IIT Kanpur. And they're early stages, and they're going to go open source and provide this as a way to quickly ingest certain kinds of data and actually visualize that, much like near real time. And the founders are from Kanpur. Secure is an information rights management play, which actually came out of Sign, which is again, those of you are familiar with IIT Bombay, they have this society called Sign, which is basically, again, an incubator. And this is focused on cloud security of data, especially data that you need to share. It could be reports, it could be documents, it could be any variety of things, which is becoming of paramount importance because of all the information being so they are doing very well. They reached a revenue base of about 12 million.
Shrikant, we lost you. Dr. Shrikant? Dr. Shrikant?
It doesn't seem to be online.
I think we just have to wait for him to join. Dr. Shrikant?
Shrikant is coming from where? His company or his home?
I think he is on the road.
Oh, okay. Then we can expect some breaking.
Yeah, I'm messaging him. Let's see. Okay. Is he joined? Not yet. Dr. Shrikant? What do I do?
Can we call him?
I tried messaging him, but he's not replying. Let me try.
Dr. Shrikant?
Hello, are you able to hear me? Hello?
We can hear you now,
Yes,
sir.
now we can hear you.
Yeah,
Please
yeah, I
continue.
think my apologies. Sorry for, I'm going to rush through it because the internet connectivity is really, really bad. So on the low, Econ is basically a digital healthcare platform which provides healthcare services to all employers. They're doing very well. We invested in them 3 years ago. Indus OS is basically making an impact by actually writing, they have a small operating system that resides on top of Android and allows the next 100 million families in India who are buying smartphones to actually transact, consume content, all in the vernacular with easy to use interfaces. And we have a very pivotal relationship with Samsung there. So again, very interesting work. E2E Rail is basically designing next generation rail platforms from the port to the railheads because number of ports are being opened up by the current government. More Engage is a marketing automation platform, which is a leader now. They're north of $10 million. IIT Kharagpur guys doing some really cool stuff and trying to give feedback to any online digital businesses, including Flipkart, Snapdeal, Big Basket. They have a whole bunch of Indian customers as well as international customers like Deutsche Bank, etc. Edge Networks is basically a SaaS company which is using AI, machine learning, and graph theory to actually do talent optimization. And Boombox is taking e-commerce to the rural parts of India by actually combining themselves with financial services companies and e-catalogs so that people in the villages can order mobile phones and TVs and some other wonderful goodies. And Kisht is a financial online inclusion play, which is anyone who's unbanked in India by leveraging AI, machine learning, and payment history, they can actually get short-term loans for short tenures and at reasonable interest rates. Can we move on to the next slide, please?
Yes.
So these are some of the promising companies that we are looking at. We are looking at some promising companies here. Infinite Uptime is a very cool company which combines mechanical engineering, electronics, signal processing, AI, machine learning, cloud, etc., to take to actually kind of guess if there are any rotary parts in any kind of manufacturing situation that may actually fail. For example, bearings, gears, spindles. And this actually spans a number of verticals, especially in manufacturing. Again, founded by an IITM founder called Raunak. Postman is the next generation API testing tool, which is actually founded by one of my mentees, Abhinav Asthana. I've been actually in touch with them since 2013. They've just recently raised a round, which took their valuation past $2 billion. They've, of course, relocated to the US. Abhinav is actually from BITS Goa. Synos is, again, an IITM startup, which is focusing on DevOps from an application monitoring perspective, not just from an underlying resource perspective. So they're coming up with a whole bunch of AI machine learning techniques where you can actually deploy and monitor your resources or your application on the cloud for better performance. Fussel is another IIT startup, which is basically focused on next generation sensors to actually improve yield, especially in horticulture. So they are actually using sensors, data, cloud to actually kind of add machine learning models to ensure that plantations actually start to improve. Plantations and fruits and vegetables yields are improved because India actually is in the low 25% of productivity. Dozy is again using sensor technology, vibration models to actually non-invasively monitor patients. And again, this is an IIT Bombay startup, and Hasura is an IIT Madras startup focusing on microservices and packaging microservices for better delivery of the stack. And when I'm in stack, I'm talking about essentially the next generation digital stack, which will probably have microservices as a backend on the cloud. Can we move to the next slide, please?
Yes.
So these are some recent IIT Madras startups. Some of you might be aware of it. Some of you may not. One is Detect Technologies. Detect actually kind of is able to use ultrasound imaging technology and AI machine learning to figure out if there are any leaks in any kind of pipes, typically more in the oil industry. Planus is basically an underwater robot company which actually goes down and again uses sonar, imaging to figure out if there are any kind of damage to the structures that are below water, typically your ships or your bridges, etc. Infinite Uptime, I already talked to you about. Ronak's company out of IIT Madras. Synos, I already talked to you about. DocsApp, all of you have heard of. This is again from IIT Madras, and it basically gives you peer-to-peer connectivity for any healthcare services across India. It's not just for enterprises, but it's also for individuals. Adorai and Kwanzu are basically friends of mine who are also from IIT Madras, who've actually set up shop in Bangalore. So these are good places to go work for, and I'll actually cover one of them at least in the slides later. Ather Energy, you've heard of, the next generation EV two-wheeler, and they basically joined hands with Hero Honda or Hero Motor Company, and actually have already released their next generation intelligent scooter. I'm sure some of you might have tried that out. Hasura, I talked to you about earlier. Hyperverge is another IITM startup which is actually taking AI, NLP, and machine learning to the next generation as far as eKYC is concerned for fintech services. They were founded in 2013 on campus in IIT Madras, and now they're basically in at least like 7 or 8 countries worldwide and are doing close to about $11 million USD in business. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Yes, we are there.
So, yeah. So then here are some US tech IPOs in 2020. Pubmatic is one of our companies, Sumo Logic, and we are also hoping we will actually see a couple more come in here. But these companies have actually redefined essentially the unlocking of potential. So Sumo Logic, for example, you've heard of. It's basically again an RPA company. If you look at DoorDash, it's the equivalent of Swiggy. Pubmatic is basically, I would say, comes very close to InMobi and Apple. Agora is basically the platform on which a whole bunch of Indian companies are rewriting their event management software online. So for example, AirMeet from India is using Agora. Zuddle from India is using Agora. And Unify from India is using Agora. So I think this platform is going to be pretty strong. Hopefully we'll see that. Snowflake, you've already heard of from a data standpoint. They had a very, very massive IPO. So I think the entire market is again opening up as far as tech IPOs are concerned in the US. The next slide.
Yes. It's there.
Are promising tech startups, which are Series. Yes, I know. There's promising Series C startup. UiPath is again an RPA company. Freshworks is from India, which is basically slated to go public in 2022. Databricks and Dataman are next generation, and Big D are next generation data plays. SciSense is basically again into sensors. So again, it re-emphasizes what's going to happen for the next year or two. So if you take a step back, there are 4 or 5 major themes that are actually influencing this, and why you consider startups, both from an innovation standpoint of these areas, both from an innovation standpoint as well as joining startups. So one is basically everyone's aware that data is continuing to grow. So clearly AI, machine learning, all that will be mainstream, and it's a good area to focus on across verticals. 5G is around the corner. That means more data. And with 5G, you also have the need to actually kind of do processing on the edge. So a lot of companies in India like Equinox or Morphing Machines and Cron systems that we are looking at are building processors on the edge. So a lot of the heavy lifting can be actually done right there on the edge before data is sent on the cloud. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult to kind of scale. As you can see from my own experience, I don't have a very reliable Wi-Fi connection here, and so I have to rely on Anuradha and her team to actually keep loading my slides. I'm glad that I at least did this. Otherwise, it would have been not possible for me to be on. So I think so that is one other trend. Then the fourth trend that I see is robotic process automation. There's a lot being talked about, like UiPath that I mentioned here, and Sumo Logic in the previous slide, which went public, and Automation Anywhere. They're just focused on all of this, and we'll see a lot more of them coming to play. Then AR, VR, which is augmented reality and virtual reality, is going to become much more mainstream, at least in the education and health tech and manufacturing segment. So these are some 4 or 5 areas which are going to be hot, and obviously I don't want to kind of belie the fact that we are a little bit behind. I mean, when it comes to actually doing this integrated engineering like Plays example, I think we talked about infinite uptime or DOSI. All these things are very, very interesting because all of them have actually emanated as ideas on campuses, working with professors and students. So I think I want to kind of underscore that because IIT Palghat is young. You've got a bunch of really smart professors. All the BTech kids are smart, and so are the MTech kids. Why can't you guys get together and start to work on something really cool? Maybe have a theme, but at least we expect, at least us seniors expect to see a lot more come out of IIT Palghat also. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Yes.
Yeah. You'll have to hit one more return, I think, on this. Yeah. And just keep clicking through till it's full, because so what is Hasura? As I told you, Hasura is a developer-oriented kind of stack. It's focused on open source. It's focused on next generation microservices. It's built on the server side. So they're showing some really remarkable kind of traction in terms of number of downloads, number of community users out there. And recently they raised around $20 million and valued at $150 million. Their backend is actually engineering team is actually based in Bangalore. So our founder, whom I've actually kind of mentored.
Hello.
Are you guys are you able to hear me still? Sorry.
Now we can, but we lost you in between. Something about Tanmay after that.
Yeah. So that. Yeah. So Tanmay is the founder. He's got his founding team in Bangalore, and he wanted me to put up this slide so that it would actually evoke some interest from the IIT Palghat graduates or third-year folks who want to actually either want to join Hasura or actually want to get internships there. I think it'll be a great exposure to all of you listening in. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Yes.
Yeah, Signos is similar. They also have their backend set up in Bangalore. I think Pranay Pratik, who's the main founder, is again from IIT Madras. They too have this kind of a profile, which I put out there. Again, their focus is on monitoring any kind of custom deployments that you put out on the cloud and how do you optimize it. A fairly interesting place because that's where DevOps is going to grow. So I think, again, I would encourage you folks to reach out and see if you'd like to be part of it in any way, shape, or form. And obviously, to faculty, this is the other way. I mean, if you think that you're doing something cool, maybe you can actually collaborate with Signos and Hasura. Go to the next one.
Yes. We are on Konzu.
Konzu is again a friend of mine from IIT. Yeah. Konzu is another friend of mine from IIT Madras. He's actually an entrepreneur, third-time entrepreneur in the Bay Area, California, but he's also set up his back office or engineering in Bangalore. And they are basically next generation tool for you to actually improve your sales outreach. So sales automation kind of tool. And they have customers like HCL, Lenovo, ARM, all over the world as their customers. They're still not VC funded. They're bootstrapped because both the founders actually made some decent money from their last venture. Again, their back office team is set in Bangalore. And again, the whole idea is to see if we can actually attract some talent from IIT Palghat, both in terms of faculties who want to actually be involved with startups, as well as students who want to intern or work there. Thanks. Can we go to the next one?
Yes. We don't.
So why startups, right? So I talked about why startups before. Now I'm going to say why not startups. That's what the bang or exclamation is in computer science lingo. So one thing is, why not startups? I think it's passe, because what do you want to do? I mean, time is on your side. Why do you want to actually go for stability at this stage, unless you really, really have to? If you have the luxury of actually taking a year or two off, rather than go do an MBA or go do a MS, you're better off working for a startup, because all these cool things are happening, right? So if you look at like joining a large company, yeah, you'll get a kind of good salary. There'll be a structured career development, after which you'll go to an MBA. You'll be exposed to some structured P&L management, and you'll be exposed to slow, steady paced learning, and your entire promotion cycle will be very structured, right? And it's basically very minimal risk, and the risk versus reward ratio won't be on your side, especially since age is on your side. So I'm actually encouraging people not to join large companies and focus on startups, because the next 3-4 years is actually going to be phenomenal for startups. India itself attracted close to about $39 billion in the private space, out of which, of course, $20 million went to Geo, but like Geo is going to be responsible for a number of startups too in the ensuing years. And we have tons of money coming in and tons of ideas being experimented. And India is actually still opening up. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind. If you go to the next one.
Yes.
So we are also working on this whole thing. We're also working on this. I mean, our batch and a bunch of people from IIT seniors are working with IIT Palghat and IIT Tirupati, all the next generation IITs, to actually really change the Center for Career Excellence. We want your career development centers to actually become centers for career excellence with a lot of early exposure, because we have access to IIT alumni who don't have access to you. So how do we bring that online, right? That's one. There's no structured process or platform. Employers also seeking easier ways to actually meet potential students. So we want to actually get away from the fact that every IIT actually works at its own silo, has its own metrics, and actually provide an interconnected platform, which doesn't matter if you're from IIT Madras or IIT Tirupati or IIT Palghat. You should have access to seniors no matter what, because at the end of the day, we are all from the IIT system. Maybe when we were doing our undergrad BTech in 79 to 84, there were only 5 IITs, but now we have like 26 IITs from what I know, or more. And probably 22, I'm not wrong. All of them actually benefit, because all of them actually studied hard, have been exposed, the faculties have worked hard, and we want to actually make sure that this whole process actually gets accelerated. Would you next slide, please?
Yes.
We piloted this thing called Joy Thomas Center for Career Excellence. Unfortunately, we lost Joy Thomas, who's basically All India JEE #1 and Stanford grad and an IBM fellow from TJ Watson Center, and phenomenal leader in information theory, as well as he's done a couple of startups. And we all got together and said, let's basically inspire STEM students, of course, in that context, IIT students, to basically create a global IIT alumni initiatives, and basically set up 2 things. One was basically Center for Career Excellence, and one was Center for Information Theory. That we will not be talking about, the latter, but we're still actually working with the IIT Palghat professors in charge for placements and for career development, as well as career counseling, to ensure that we will actually start to bring in this platform. You can go to the next slide, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are initially piloting it across IIT Madras, IIT Tirupati, and IIT Palghat, mainly because IIT Madras was basically the mentor institute, and we know people on both sides really well. So the key things we'll cover is mentoring, career guidance, internship, employment, continuing education. this whole thing about mentoring, we want it to be a continuous thing. We don't want it to be discrete. We want it to be done like a set of slides once a quarter, but like we want students and mentors who might be sitting in the US, might be sitting in India, who might be sitting in industries, might be sitting in universities, actually basically have some reasonable kind of interaction. So good example is you have platforms like the Lunch Club where you can actually kind of reserve slots and both you fill up the calendars and it's the profiles that you see there. So be audited and as
Dr. Shrikant? Hello?
yeah, I'm here.
Ah.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. No, actually, the whole idea is to basically make it as convenient to people because students have classes. Can they kind of interact in the evenings? Vice versa, people who are working, who are mentors, also probably want to interact on convenient times, maybe the weekends, maybe the evenings. So that's the whole idea behind actually this. With that, I think.
Hello?
I'm also close to the end of my presentation. So, is there? Yeah, I could take a few questions if that can be, if that's okay.
Sure. So shall I stop sharing?
Yeah, you stop sharing because I think pretty much I'm done. I mean, there were one or two more slides, but they were probably not as relevant.
So any questions, anybody?
You can either ping in the chat window or you can unmute and ask, please.
Yeah, I can unmute and ask. I think I can hear.
Hi Shrikant, this is Rajesh Nair. I'm currently running the course, the 6-day workshop. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
I hear you.
Oh, okay, so you're very choppy. I can't hear you. I'll just quickly ask the question. One of the discussions in the class that came up was about how do you fund your ideas, early stage ideas, and I would love to have students here of some of the methods from you, if you know, since you have been working with the IITs and uh, other institutions. So if you could just touch on that, it would be good.
I don't think unless you to video because that causes a lot of issues for me.
I couldn't hear what you said.
I said, please put your video off because it can actually cause a bandwidth this thing. So audio is fine. Otherwise, you're going to actually, video is a little bit more expensive on the bandwidth on my end because it'll be coming here.
Oh, okay. So yeah, coming in and going out are different. Okay. So question was, how do we, the students were talking about funding early ideas to take it to the next first step. So I just wanted to check to see if you have any thoughts on that, especially from academic institutions and such. Yeah.
Early ideas is basically through grants and through friends and families. You can't have any other institutions coming in.
So what could they do
Was
to
that clear?
improve the? No, the question was slightly different. What can they do to improve their odds of getting funding? Let me put it that way. What do they have to do so they can actually improve them?
Yeah, you cannot improve your odds sitting on campus. There are reach outs like the Y Combinator program if it's a commercial kind of a early stage thing which is hot. Like for example, Synos did that, but they didn't do it out of campus. Okay. Similarly, there are a lot of grants that are available. So that's what's going to improve the grant, improve their odds. And the third thing, which is very, very critical, is you have to make sure that the faculty is actually proactive. Today, most of the faculty are not proactive. So these three things in my mind will actually take it to the next level. Obviously, there are alumni like us, who are either investors or actually working in industry. So the whole idea is do a reach out through the Center of Innovation. If you have access to them, that's a reason for setting up that platform. So these 3 or 4 things will definitely improve odds, Rajesh.
Yeah, thank you, Sri.
As a venture capitalist, what do you look for in startup ideas? What key things do you look for when somebody is pitching?
Okay. So this is a good question. I keep getting asked this a number of times.
No, I just
not so
wanted
much from
the
campus.
students, for the students to understand.
See, there's a slight difference. I mean, yeah, when we meet entrepreneurs, they are a little bit down the road. They're not like just thinking of ideas, right? I think Rajesh hit upon that earlier, but I will try to explain to you exactly what we look for when. So suppose there is a little bit of traction. We look for essentially the founding team to be very solid in their ability to execute, ability to think, ability to differentiate. That's one. Second thing we look for is a big market. Okay. It can't be a small market because when we look to put our money to work, it should scale up. It can't be a small thing. Third thing we look for is basically current traction. So there has to be some execution. So at least you should have 2 or 3 customers whom we can actually check it off, right? Fourth thing is we want to basically kind of see how well you've actually understood competition and why you will actually come out ahead. So these are about 4 things that we typically look for. Now, the verticals might be different for different venture capitalists, but since we do Series A, we want to have some traction before we interact. Now, there are early stage venture capital companies which might actually go in early. This is what I was trying to tell Rajesh earlier. There's a whole bunch of incubators and accelerators which don't mind giving a small grant of, say, 25 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 40 lakhs, which are already there. There might be something like that set up in IIT Palakkad, I'm not sure. But definitely IIIT Hyderabad has a 15 lakh grant, which gets matched by some industry partner in some areas. So that actually gets you going. And the main thing is to keep the faculty side also engaged in somewhat of an entrepreneurial fashion, because one of the things that I have struggled with is, even though the faculty members have good ideas, they're not just entrepreneurs. So they have to be actually pushed and prodded to actually kind of help the students. So I think those are things we look for also. So for example, if the faculty, if the idea is good and the faculty member is not really with the program, there's no point actually going and funding this because it won't go anywhere. Vice versa, if the students are not serious and they just have a bright idea and they've not done their homework, we will not fund it. So I hope that explains our rationale.
Sure. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Shrikant. It was a very good session, despite
Thank
the
you,
interruptions.
Revati. Thank you, Anuradha.
Thank you very much.
Despite the interruptions, I hope I hope it's recorded, and I hope it'll be useful for you tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much for having me on, and once again, my apologies for all this spotty connectivity from our end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.